Hey friends, so I just got done doing the first look at We Are Maker's Shadowbox punch board, and I mentioned in that video that I wanted to see if I could make a rectangular version, and the idea really stuck with me, so I'm just gonna try it right now. So what I want to do is, this is the one that I made during my first look, and it started with an 8x8 piece of paper, and when you're done, it becomes 4x4. And basically, your final dimension is going to be 4 inches less in each direction. I craft a lot with 6x6 pattern paper, so what I was thinking was, how about trying to make a 4x6 shadow box, because that's also a pretty standard photo size too. So if you wanted to put a photo in here and this was like a shadow box for an actual photo, it would be great for that. So if I want the end size, the final assembled size to be 4x6, I would just add 4 inches, because this is half an inch, half an inch, half an inch, and then there's a glue tab that's another half inch. So each of these is half an inch here. So that adds an extra 2 inches on one side and 2 inches on the other side. So that's why all you have to do is add 4 inches. So if at the end of the day I want a shadow box that is 4x6, that means that I want my piece of paper to be 10, which is 6 inches plus 4 by 8, which is 4 inches plus 4. And I'm doing this with heavier weight. This is a 100-pound cover weight. Okay, so I'm gonna start there. And then I think we should be able to do pretty much the same thing. I don't think that it necessarily has to be square, but again, I just finished the first look video, so I've never tried this before. So let's see. Now, normally what we would do is score along these lines. This is the box side, and you would score on all of your edges, each of these score lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, and there's a 4th one. So along the 8-inch edge, easy peasy, because this can actually accommodate up to 9 inches. Maybe I'll score this way so you can see the full length. One of the things I really like is that there are rubber feet at the bottom, and it really helps prevent like sliding around. Okay, so I'm gonna do that on the opposite end too. So this is the other 8-inch edge. So this is going to be easy. Now it's the 10-inch edge that is going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but I don't think it's an unsurmountable challenge. I actually think it's going to be easy. So here you can see how it hangs off, right? So I think all I need to do is just score one way as far as I can go, and I'll do all 4 lines as far as I can go, and it's a little bit hard for me to score like that. So I'm going to try to do these last couple. Oh, this last one. Okay, so that leaves about 1.5 inches or so at the bottom here that was not scored. So what I can do is I can just flip this to the back. That's one option. Now I tend to prefer, because it's slightly gonna be better when you fold, that all of your score lines, that you fold it as a mountain fold. So option number 2 is, instead of flipping to the back, I'll just bring out my other scoreboard, which is my all-in-one. And I do have all of those lines started, so I can just line this up and finish those edges. Or the reality is that once you know that all this is doing is just scoring every 1/2 inch, you don't really need to use the punch for that part. So what I can do is just in my regular scoreboard do this initial scoring. So you can actually see it lines up every 1/2 inch. So I can just do that instead. So if you don't have a larger scoreboard like this, there is a way to do it on the small one. Or if you do have a larger scoreboard, then you can just skip that and go straight to your scoreboard and just score every 1/2 inch. Just put 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines and do that on all 4 edges. So that's done, and that part you don't necessarily need the punch board, but the next part we do, because the next part actually cuts out the corners. So what I think I want to do is I want to punch. So the step number 2 is that we punch all 4 corners and we do it twice. So I'm going to set this in like that and then punch. And then that allows you to slide it even more. So you keep on sliding it down and you punch a second time. Okay. And then we want to flip this over to do the same thing on this side. So slide this. It'll only go so far. So you slide it all the way in till you can't anymore. Punch. And then that allows you to slide it an extra little bit. It's very clever how this has been engineered. So now we have this piece looks like that. And then what we want to do is mirror this on that side so that these punches here are punched along this edge too. So if you're always punching like the long edge, then punch the long edge on the opposite side. So the same thing. Push it all the way in. Slide. Okay. Then flip it so that you do the same on the other side. And slide. See, this only gets you that far. And so we need to take another notch out of it. Okay. So that's... I bet some crafters are gonna keep this and do some really cool things with it. This is like really neat texture, really neat shape. I'm just gonna toss mine. So now everything needs to be a mountain fold. So I am just going to mountain fold everything. Okay, and so it'll end up getting rolled and it'll look a little something like that. So this last edge here is actually a glue tab. So you have the walls of your shadow box and then a glue tab that anchors it at the bottom. And I'm gonna make sure I burnish everything just so that we get nice sharp edges for our box. And I think this is gonna come together great. Now, it's really quite possible that We Are Makers has already talked about this being an option. I go into a lot of my product reviews as much as possible, not watching a lot of other videos. I just saw their announcement video when they first started to promote it, so I saw the shorts that they do as tutorials, but I actually haven't watched any other product reviews or any other tutorials because I knew I wanted to get it, and I knew I wanted to do a first look. And part of the whole idea behind the first look, if you want to check that out, I'll link to it. But the idea of it is to see, how easy is it to use out of the box. Okay, so these are going to go in like that, and then this will tuck in like that. And in my first look video, I did prefer having this glued so that it holds its structure a little bit better. For now, we're just going to do a loose fit here just to see it all come together. And this would tuck in like that. So it'll look a little something like this. But what I want to do, so I think this would be really fun for, see, it works great. What I think would be really fun though is to get some pattern paper behind there, because I think that would be really fun and we can kind of build up even a little scene inside there. So I've got the Not Too Shabby papers, which are beautiful. So let's see if we can pick something that would make for a really nice backdrop. And I know one of these paper pads has an ephemera pack, so maybe I can layer some ephemera. Oh, that would be really lovely. So my idea is, before I glue down the walls, I think I want to put a nice little backdrop. So the other one I thought that would be nice is this one, because it's sort of a cityscape. So I thought that could be cool. That would be a fun one. And I could look at some of the other ones. So this one's Denim and Daisies. It's got some florals, got some really nice denim patterns. So pretty. It's a really nice glitter. Okay, so that's one option. And then Seeds of Happiness is another one that's really great. And there's lots of little ephemera, which I have here. So this one is Seeds of Happiness. That's really lovely. Oh, this is kind of like a nice alcohol ink pattern. That's kind of nice. Oh, they're all so pretty. So I think what I want to do for this first box anyways, because I'm really liking this idea. So for this first box, I am thinking I'll go with maybe something that has maybe some of the florals. because there's a lot of ephemera in here. Well, let's look at the ephemera, because that might actually help me to decide. So there are some scenes. So I think if I use these little scenes, I don't want the city in the background there. I might prefer to have like a little sky back there. So that might be nice. So one of the things is that the total size, the finished size of this is going to be 4x6, but it's smaller than that once you, so you can see this is 6 inches and that's 4. But once these walls get turned in, that's half an inch there, half an inch there, so it's an inch smaller. So ultimately what's visible is 3x5. So I just need a 3x5 section, and this is going to be plenty. So I might use something like this and set it as the backdrop against some of these ephemera pieces that are more like buildings and landscapes. So I think that's going to be my plan. So let's cut that cut down. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this to, it just needs to be larger than 3x5, so I'm gonna go, just to give some wiggle room, 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. That should be plenty. And I just want to center that inside here. So that we have a nice backdrop for our scene. And then I can assemble the rest. So just center this. And it doesn't really have to be perfect, because once this is rolled in, it's going to overlap a little bit. So I did like the look of having these glued down. So I'm going to do that again here. And that way it's nice and sturdy, but it also kind of holds its position, and it doesn't sort of collapse. So I'll get a little bit of adhesive on basically the last tab on each of these 4, but for the side 2, I found it useful to use liquid adhesive. So for these I'll use dry adhesive. Maybe I'll dot on some liquid adhesive just to really make sure it's nice and permanent. But for the last 2 sides, it's nice to have the wiggle room of the liquid adhesive, just to have a little bit of time to nudge it around a little bit. But I will put a line of liquid adhesive here to help make it more permanent. And what I want to do is I want to get the edge of this right up against the edge of the fold here. So basically right there, but I want to turn it down so that it sticks. And I'll burnish that from the other side once I get this down. So I want to do the same thing here. So basically fold this in half and then fold it over. Then I can burnish and burnish. And now I can pop those up. So now this is nice and rigid, it's nice and fixed. These ends, I need to basically do the same thing, but it needs to be able to kind of tuck and roll into that corner there. So that right there is pretty sturdy, but I still think I want to put some liquid adhesive. So what I found easiest to do, or at least this worked for me in the first look video, is just putting a little bit in this 1/2 inch section here, and then I'm gonna roll this in. And make sure everything tucks in. This is harder to burnish because you can't really get it flat, but that's pretty well secured. And then, but you can still, oh, actually you can, yeah, so definitely while you can get it flat, you should definitely burnish it. And then what I want to do is, see, when this comes up, it pushes into that corner. So I want to make this very permanent. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive there and a little bit just in the corner. A little bit of adhesive there so that when you tuck this in, it's secured from the top too. So now this corner is going to be nice and neat. It'll have some adhesive holding it. And we can do the same here on the other side. So get some liquid adhesive. And should be able to fold this flat like that and burnish. Burnishing really helps to kind of spread that glue out and really make sure you have good contact. And I'm going to do the same thing. So it all fits nice and snug, but I want to put a little bit of adhesive in this corner, a little bit of adhesive in that corner, and then slide this on in and make sure that I hold that corner together. Look at that. How fun. So now what I can do to kind of create my little scene is I can put these elements. So I can put these elements sort of, I have a lot of places for them because I can put them with some foam and add some dimension because I've got 1/2 inch here. So I can really layer them up. I can have some directly on the frame. And there's a good variety of them. So maybe some of these that are like the little houses, I can do like that. And I could even maybe put her in the foreground, which would be kind of fun. I could even put the puppy could be skateboarding along the back. So, you know, I think there's a lot of opportunity here to kind of just decorate. So I got a lot of scenes. I have those few buildings. Oh, I have her. Okay, so I have 2 choices for her. Oh, I've got a little cat. Could have a little cat poking its head up also. So that would be fun. Okay, so my thinking is that I can do, maybe what I'll do is one of these just directly right I think I'm gonna use low profile foam, so I don't think I'm gonna stick it right there. Let's give a little bit of dimension. So I'm just gonna cut some wide strips because this ephemera is pretty large. Okay, so I can do a wide stretch across here. So that'll be one kind of stretch of houses. And then I can double up on this one and have it a little bit more forward. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down. Like that. I have this, which is thicker, so that's probably at least twice the thickness, maybe more. So then I can do this double thick foam on this piece, and it'll look like it's a little bit in front of that other one. So I can get this down. And I want to overlap them a little because it just makes it feel like it's more dimensional. Actually, I think I want it even more dimensional than that. So let's double up on that even and bring this even more forward. So that's probably 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so let's get this piece in like that. Oh, look at that. See? So now you have a lot more dimension there. And so I'm gonna put one of these gals. She can be in this corner here, kind of like having her in the front, maybe breaking out of the frame here. And then this corner did not do so great, so look at this. I didn't do a great job of pushing this all the way in, and I used liquid adhesive, so it's kind of pretty set. So to hide that, I'm gonna put my cat there. So I am just going to run a bit of adhesive here and a little there. That should be enough to hold her in place. So this would be really fun to create. I think for Christmas, like a really dimensional, this could be a very dimensional card. And imagine making like a little Christmas scene, maybe a nativity scene in here. That would be awesome. That would be super fancy. And this would be the sort of card that, if it was a card, would get put on display. Like, it's definitely mantle worthy. Okay, so I might try that, in fact. And then if you wanted to make this a card, I would create a little easel stand here, like a little kickstand. But for this one, I think I might just leave this kind of the way it is now. And I can see I was going to try to peel it up, but that barely art glue is so strong. So don't want to risk it. So I just trimmed off a little bit so that it can stand a little bit better. But it won't really stand without like something to support it from the back. But it does kind of stand. So look at that. And you can probably add a lot more little elements to this too. Maybe like a bird flying through the sky up at the top would be really fun. But yeah, this is awesome. It's great to see that you can make this really any size that you want. So that's a look at a custom size shadow box. And the papers and the ephemera are from the Not Too Shabby Shop Paper Pad Club for June 2025. I'm going to leave links to everything in the description box below if you want to check any of it out. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.